Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Today's actually kind of a follow-up video to the last video I made on the Datsun 260Z ignition module. In the last video I showed you how to wire it up, how the wiring is, and there's a lot of things I couldn't really answer because I didn't know, because this module here was dead. It had a dead short in it. Well, I've since fixed it. I went on and did a good service on it. I've recalced everything, got it cleaned up really good, and as you can see, I've got it set up in the floor here where I can run it. So before we move on, I'm going to put a link in the description of this video at the top of the screen right now. So if you actually click on that link, it'll take you to the first part of this video where I go over all the wiring and that kind of stuff. In this video though, I'm going to follow up with some of the things I couldn't answer on that video. So we'll start kind of there here. So like I said, I got this one fixed. It's working correctly now, and in the process I figured out exactly how the advance and retard timing works in this module. So it works just like what I had talked about in the last video. This white wire right here is actually, when it's not referenced to 12 volt, it's looking at the retard line for this ignition circuit. When you actually put 12 volts on this line, it looks at the actual advance, electronic advance pickup in the distributor. That's how that works. So if you got an automatic car, it's actually using this circuit. If you don't have an automatic car, evidently the circuitry is still there, it's just not active. That's what I can figure out based off what I'm seeing in the schematics. So just kind of interesting stuff there. I just want to bring that up. Also, in the process of researching this thing, I did actually find a Datsun 260Z distributor. So this is actually a distributor that would have been inside of a 260. And you can see the connector here. I couldn't show you that earlier, but there's the style connector it is for a 260. A 280, which is what we're actually using to drive this thing, because that one actually does have a bad pickup, is these little wire terminals, like so, and you got those that tie into the junction box under the hood of the car. And that's how the 280Zs interconnect. This is a non-California, so it's only got the two wires. If it was I'm sorry, this is a California. If it was a non-California, it'd have a brown wire, green wire, and red wire. The brown wire would be for your advance, and then of course this car didn't have the advance circuit, so it would just be the retard timing only. Same thing with the distributor right here. This is for a manual 260, so it only has the two wires. If it was an automatic 260, it'd have three connections. And then of course the third one would be for the advance pickup, which this is only a single pickup distributor, as you can see. But with that all said, let me show you this thing actually working. So what I've got it set with a ballast resistor here out of a car, and you want to use a ballast resistor because that lowers the current off your module. And I think what happened to this particular unit is somebody ran this thing for a period of time without the ballast resistor, and it smoked some of the circuitry in this box. That's what I believe happened. So now I've got it run with a ballast resistor. I've got actually a spark plug tester put into the coil so you can actually see it making the high voltage. And we're going to use this distributor here to turn, and you'll actually see this coil fire as I rotate this distributor. So I'll show you that real quick. So now I'm actually going to show you this thing functioning as it would in a car. So we've got the distributor, we've got the ignition coil, the ballast resistor, ignition module, and of course the power source over here. And I'm going to go and apply power here, and you can see our spark plug tester. This is high voltage output. You can see I can rotate this, and we can see it actually firing that injector, that spark plug tester, as you can see. And I'm just rotating this distributor by hand. I can actually run it with a drill, which will be simulating more of a engine running. And you can see we got a You can see how it works. We can go fast speed. As you can see, and it keeps up just fine. So this ignition module is working fantastic. There's nothing wrong with it anymore. But I just thought you guys would like to see this kind of set up in a floor with high voltage actually being generated off this coil. And that's kind of how it works. Now the issue I do have with this other distributor, in fact I'll hook it up and just kind of show you, because this is a good a good test point for you. This is actually something, if you're having issues with spark, this is kind of back to what I was talking about earlier when you have a bad pickup. So now, in this case, I don't think it's actually a bad pickup, like I say, and I think it just needs the air gap set. You can actually set the air gap between your reluctor and your pickup. If you don't have the right air gap, then you're going to have a issue with pickup, because you're changing the basically changing the amplitude based off how far that air gap is in the coil to your reluctor. And I think this one just has the wrong air gap, is what's going on with it. But I'll show you a symptom of this particular distributor. If I turn power back on and I rotate this, you can see that we don't have fire very. It's very erratic. So I'm turning it, but it's not firing with every rotation, which would cause a misfire. As you can see, I'm turning this thing, it just fires just intermittently. It just fires, and that's an issue with this pickup. But like I said, I think if I set the air gap in this distributor, I think it'll be fine, unless this coil is just weak. It could be a weak pickup coil. I can run it with a drill, a little faster RPM, and we can see it recovers just fine. But if I go real slow, like this big crank, it has no fire. It has a point when it starts working. So you can see about right there, it likes to work. But if I get in the lower RPM range, which could be a simulation of cranking the engine over, you may not have spark. It may be intermittent spark when you're trying to crank the engine. So I got to set the air gap on this thing, and it'll probably fix it. But I just want to show you that real quick as well. So that's actually running it with a 260Z distributor that has a problem based off that pickup setup. So once again, don't just blame your pickup coil if you don't see something, because you need to look at your peak to peak. Because if this one's only putting out like 1.9 volt peak to peak when I'm rotating it by hand at a constant speed, and that's about on the drill. These are putting out like 2.5 volts peak to peak. So by changing that air gap, you'll of course change that voltage, that overall amplitude, peak to peak voltage you're seeing as you rotate that thing at slower RPMs. So just a note there for you guys, that's something to check. And I don't know what the air gap is. I'll look in the manual and see if I can find the air gap settings, and I'll put you the measurements. You can use a feeler gauge to set your air gap on these things. But I'll figure that out. I'll look in the manual, see if I can find it. If I can find it, I'll put in the description of this video for you guys. Or I'll leave it in a pinned comment for you. But appreciate it, guys, and there'll be more to come here very soon. Take care.